So my name's Harley. I run the tech support department at Delta Media Group, and so keep in mind that I am a tech guy that just lost video. It's back. I told you I was a tech guy. You wiggle it, unplug it, plug it back in, and it works. Rule number one. So what I'm going to go over today is, now you know we've got a session set up at a couple of the offices tomorrow, so that'll be more of an interactive session where we'll be able to answer more questions and maybe even have some kind of one-on-one time at the end where we can go over the stuff a little bit more in depth. So for today, I'm just going to go in here and we're going to take a look at some of the newer things that we've added into the system since going live just a year ago last September. So that way you can see some more of the things that have been added in for you and kind of see the things that we've been putting together. You know, we are ever adding to the platform. So if you see something new in there, don't be alarmed. We put it in there on purpose most of the time. So the first thing I'll take a look at is something that we added kind of early on after going live, and that is the customer list. And what this is built for is it's designed to be a system that you can use to kind of prospect through your clients and your leads. You can bring them up based on whatever criteria you want, and then you can cycle through them one at a time so that you can, go through and contact each person, leave notes on each one, and really prospect through your customer database. So I should probably stay logged in. There we go. So to get there, you'll want to go to Customers, and then down here to Customer List. Now the thing about this feature is it searches a lot of places, and that makes it very robust. It allows you to search by a lot of different criteria, but that initial load is a little bit slow because it searches in so many places. But it ends up being worthwhile here in the end. So what you can do with this is you can actually go through and you can select based on activity type, you can select based on customer name, or even customer spouse name. So I can say spouse name contains and Susan. And that'll give me back every customer in my database that has a spouse name that includes Susan in there somewhere. So you can get really specific with this. Most of the time you might just use it for recent activity. So anybody who has been on the website and made a request or asked for a showing, asked for an email request within, say, the last 30 days, for example. But as you go through all this criteria, you can really nail it down to the specific type of customer you'd like to prospect. A nice thing about this is you can sort it down by groups, and then in doing so, you can have your group segmented in such a way that you only are interested in customers that are interested in carry. So you could segment this down based on that group, and then once you have your list, you just hit search here at the end, that loads your list up, and then you have your list down here where you can multi-select them. So I can say select customers, and then I can select everyone on the group all at once. So select all 14 rows, okay. And now that I have them all selected, I can just click open, and that'll actually open up all of those customers at once. So from here, the main purpose of this system is that I can then look at this customer. I see their information here, so I can send them an email. I can call them. I could just click the icon here, and if I'm on a mobile device and I'm using this feature, I could tap that. It'll open up my dialer, and then I can just call them. And then after I've called them, I can click on Add a New Note. I can create a new note here, and then I can move on to the next customer. So this is meant to be a really fast way that you can load up everybody, and you can just run through them one at a time, get a hold of them, put down information on them, and then move on to the next one. So it's one of those ways that we decided, thought that we could make it easier for you to handle any of your prospecting. Any way to go through customers and just make your life easier is kind of what we're about. So another thing you'll notice from the customer list is that what we're actually looking at here is the customer's profile page in the DeltaNet. So this is their full information page. So what you'll mostly use this for is that you see their profile information with their email address, phone number, contact information, and any of their notes. But we're also looking at the whole profile page here. So I can see any of their saved searches. If they've saved any properties, I can see those. If I've added them to any of my campaigns, those are going to show up here. And also their full customer history section. Now in this case, this customer has no history because their email address isn't real. But most of your customers' email addresses will be real, in which case you'll have some history here. Now from here, you can narrow this down if you want to see only specific history. So if you want to see only the campaign emails that have been sent to them, you can narrow it down to that. You can see that this customer was getting mostly My Customer for Life emails. If you want to see any requests they've made on the website, so all the showing requests they've asked for, You can just switch this to requests, and you'll see all of those. And then you can expand any one of them to see everything there. And then lastly, if they've set up any AVMs, so if they've gone to the website and searched for a valuation on a property, or if you've added a valuation for them, those will show up here as well. And those are part of the reverse prospecting report system. So I can create a new prospect report, put in their address, and then I can load up a report there. So let's see. I don't know any addresses around here, so, you know. But if I load up an address, that brings us up, and then next step. You can see it loads up this paragraph here, where I can then either email the report to them or I can download it. And then if I click download, in this case we'll click download just so you can see it, you now have a reverse prospecting report. So in this case, there won't be any customers in the system that are looking for a house in Ohio, so it's not a very good example. But if there were, it would actually show you here how many customers are interested in the home you just searched for. So this is something that can be a really valuable tool when it comes to, you know, a listing presentation. You can go in here and you can put together a report that shows these are actual customers active in the system now that have a saved search or a market watch that would return your property if it were listed on the market. So this is a great way to differentiate yourself from any other realtors that might be looking for that listing.
Where are you getting the buyers from? Are they just HPW buyers that are looking for on our website for other HPW?
Yeah, but not just yours, everybody at HPW. So it doesn't show the actual customer name.
We're assuming that these are all HPW clients that have been using the HPW search engine, correct?
Right, which is why the next part of this is so important. The idea is that these reverse prospecting reports can be great for everybody. And what they run off of, or the data that they use to function, is saved search data. So the next thing I'll go over is how you can create a saved search for your customers. And the nice thing about that is whenever you create those saved searches, that's how this system knows that they would be interested in that property. So that's what's so cool about these. So if I go back in here, so I'm still on the customer's profile page, which, as you remember, we got here from the customer list. To get to any of these profile pages, if you're not loading them all up in succession like this, we can just go to Customers and Customer Center, and then just click on the name of the customer we want. So we'll go down here. Here's my test account. So if I load up this customer's profile page, I can scroll down here to Save Searches and Market Watches, and I can just click on Add a Saved Search. This takes me through to the Save Search page, where I can either set up a search by market, by radius, or by area. So market, it can be a city name, it can be a zip code, a subdivision. I would just click on market, and if I type in the name of my area, it'll bring up the autocompleter for the areas that match, and I just click on it, and that's how I've defined the area for this search.
Can I have more than one area?
With these, you can't have more than one area yet. Now, if you do need to define more than one area, especially if they're close together, is you can define it by map area instead. So if you had a subdivision or a series of subdivisions that are close together, you could draw a box around all of them on the map. In fact, we'll go back to profile. I will create a new one. And if I do this by area instead, I can actually draw a polygon here. And everywhere I click, it puts down a point. I made a house kind of by accident. And there are no results within that house. But you get the idea there. So we'll go back. I'll create another saved search. So we'll add a saved search. And this one we'll do by market. And I'll type in something I know I'm going to get results for. And you can see it brings up all the matches. So this is city. This is if there are areas that match the name, school districts or schools that match the name. It'll bring up everything it finds a match for. So you just go ahead and click on the one you want. You can see we have 349 matching results so far. And now this is where the system gets really interesting. So far we've just defined a location, and we have all the standard criteria. So if I go to property type, we can do residential. We can break it down by single family, land, whatever property type they need. We can do it by property details, which will give us things like, as you can see, price, beds, baths, square footage. So those are all kind of the standard criteria. But in addition to that, there is MLS-specific criteria in here now. So if you want to really fine-tune a search into something that is extremely specific for the customer, I can load up all the options we're getting from TMLS. And some of this stuff gets really specific.
So we now have the ability to use that to search for bedrooms on a master level, on the main level, master bedroom, which is one of the.
As long as it's in here, then yes. Yeah, and what we're doing with these is the reason there's a different set of search criteria for every MLS is that we get all the data from the MLS and we try to consolidate it into the primary fields like beds and baths and the stuff you see everywhere. But by just displaying it out per MLS here, we're actually able to let you search by everything that we're getting from that MLS, even if it doesn't match one of our standard fields. So that's why you get things like bamboo flooring. I've never even seen a house with bamboo flooring, but they must be out there because we're getting some. So this allows you to really fine-tune the search. Now, once you have everything set up the way you want it to, and with all the specific MLS options, everything else in there, Search Summary allows you to see everything that you selected. So that way, instead of trying to go through each one of those drop-downs and find what you selected for this particular search, you can just click on this Search Summary and it'll load up everything. If there's a search that you find yourself using a lot, you can save it, and you can go here under Load a Search Template. So the idea would be you go in here and let's say it seems like everything you set up saved search-wise is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2,000 square feet, and has a garage. You could set that up as a template and then go in here, define your area, and then just select that from the template so that you can really quickly set up these saved searches for all your customers. And again, it's these saved searches that the reverse prospecting stuff is all working off of. And even the pre-listing announcement stuff that we're coming out with or just starting to come out with now. So that's why it's kind of important to get these in here and get the market watches in here, because it's going to help you across the board. Now, once you have your saved search all set up, another feature you can do here is if you go through this list and you see listings that the customer is not interested in, not necessarily based on specific criteria, but just looking at this picture, that they're not interested in a big archway like this. You can just click Remove from Email, and it's not going to include that in the email it sends out to the customer. So it's a nice way that you can really get in touch with what they want because you're the expert. So that is a cool one we added. And then Quick View will bring up just a more detailed view with the description or the details for any one of these properties as you go through. So once you have everything set up the way you need, we'll go to Saved Search Settings, and what this will allow you to do is give the search a name, and then it's a good idea to name each one. If no other reason, then you can, differentiate them later on. Email notifications can be on or off for these. So if you want to set this up so that they can log in and they can see the results of their search, but they don't actually get an email when a new listing comes on the market, you could turn that off. We suggest you leave it on, but you have those customers sometimes that they don't really want any email, so we leave that option in there. You can determine how often it will actually update. I don't know. Then yes. So with the instant updates or the update frequency, what this is actually telling is how often do I want this search to run? Do I want it to run every 3 days and send them results if it finds new results every 3 days? Or do I want it to run instantly? And the idea is that the sooner the customer gets the listing, the better. So you'll want these to run instantly, and you'll want to define them well enough that they're not getting 40 listings a day. If you say, show me everything in Cary between 200 and 500,000, then they're going to be getting updates all the time. If you make it really specific, then if it finds a new listing maybe once every couple of days, once every 3 days, as soon as that listing comes on the market, or as soon as we have the data and process it, which now in some MLSs is down to 60 seconds, then, we've actually seen listings show up on our site and in our system before they show up on the MLS websites from time to time. So the idea is we're getting them fast enough that it can fire these off right away, and they'll immediately get the notification when a new listing comes on the market. So we're in the kind of market where you want to get on top of them fast, I'm told.
Does that include if someone made a mistake in the MLS and they changed their MLS, could the changes go further immediately as well?
Yes, most of the time. It depends on what the changes are. So if it's a photo change, they don't always come through as fast, but they're still pretty quick.
If we set up a search for our buyers, can they go in and tailor it to themselves, or are we under control of the?
They can go in and fine tune it, and you'll be able to see what they fine tuned it to, or they can go in and create their own also. So something to keep in mind and something to kind of watch for is when they create their own searches, not to create a duplicate saved search, because then they can get kind of confused when, they'll be getting 2 emails from you for 2 different sets of listings and not always realize that they're from 2 different searches. So naming them is something that helps with that too, because right at the top of the page you get, the name of the search. Mm-hmm. Sure. So the reverse prospecting report, like I said, it works off of this data, the Market Watch and the Saved Search data both. And if I go down to back to the customer's profile page, now what this is doing, we'll scroll down with my test customer, and I want to set up a reverse prospecting report. So I'll say, create a new prospect report, and somebody give me an address. What's a good address around here?
708 2760
708.
Macon, M-A-C-O-N, Place, Raleigh, 2760.
Looks like the one. So there's an address. So we will go to the next step. And real quick, search by address is what I have selected here at the top. You can also search this for active listings if you want. So if there's a listing that's on the market that you want the prospecting report for, you can do that. Primarily, these are built for listing presentations, though. So the idea would be listing's not on the market yet. So once you're set up, I can click email, and that would email it to this customer. But in this case, this customer's email address is fake. I know because I made it. No, actually, no, it's my email address. So it's not fake. I would get it. But so that you can see it, I'm going to click on Download PDF Report. The idea here is I can actually create a postcard out of this. I could have somebody print it, and I can mail it out. It could go directly to their address. Download PDF Report. So here we go. So you can see it loads it up with your branding. It actually gives you a Google Street View image of it, and then from what we have from Public Record, it will pull up from what we have from Public Record, it'll pull up beds, baths, and the estimate over here. And then over here, these are a sampling of the 62 active buyers in the system that it finds from that actual search data that would potentially be interested in this listing. And what it's saying is that these people have saved searches that if this listing was put on the market today, they would get an email notification saying this new listing just came on the market and it's exactly what you're looking for. Or very similar to what you're looking for.
Now, can you reverse prospect to the agents and say, I've got a new listing coming on the market that you'd say one of your customers would say to, or?
Not yet. We're looking at expanding it to do something like that. But the closest you can get now is you can do a pre-listing announcement, which is something we just added. So I'm hesitant to go over it only because it was added like yesterday. But what that'll do is you can load up a property in a similar way to this. You'll just put in the address, it'll take you to the property, and it'll show you the number of customers, very similar to this, that are interested in it. So I would put in an address, it'd say there are 62 active buyers, and then I could hit a button that says send new or pre-listing announcement, and it would fire off an email to all 62 of those people. So, and it doesn't, it's not meant to go out with your branding because then you'd be marketing to another agent's listings. So that's not the idea of this system. The idea is just notifying the people that would be interested in this, and then they contact their agent.
What is that going to be called?
That one's called pre-listing announcement. What's that? Potentially. Yeah, you could fire it off and, it's going to find the matches for anyone. Now what it does is, if you have a current listing, the tricky part about that is it actually creates a pocket listing in our system that only lasts for a limited amount of time. So the idea would be, send out e-cards and things for the listings you actually have listed, but then you're just marketing to your own.
So there's no way to, in other words, you've got that list there's no way to just send a notification out to those agents saying we haven't meet your criteria?
Not yet. It doesn't send to it doesn't send to the agents yet. Instead, it fires it off to the customers, and then the customers can contact their agents is the idea. And the reason we did it that way is so that the customer gets the information as quickly as possible. So instead of filtering it through the agent, having the agent contact them with the new listing, it goes to the agent and then, or it goes to the customer, then the customer contacts their agent.
That means they don't know a price point, correct? That's just an address you're pulling it from, I mean.
In the pre-listing announcement, it does, the pre-listing system. So what it'll do is you actually enter a estimated property or estimated price line, and it says that in the pre-listing announcement, I believe it says like a price range. You know, it just gets in the neighborhood. And you can also define how nitpicky you want it to be. So if you want it to be somebody whose exact search criteria would return this listing or just something pretty close. So that whole thing's kind of built around that. But there'll be more information on that as we come out and as we've started testing it and using it a little bit more. Because like I said, it is brand new. All right, so that's Save Searches. So from here, we can move on to Market Watch reports. You set that up in the same place, and the idea with a Market Watch report is you're setting up something that is useful for anyone. I mean, even if somebody has just bought a home, they just moved into a home, still it's interesting to see what's happening in your market, the market you just purchased in. So this is something that could be really handy for everybody. So that's why we suggest you set one up for everyone. To set them up, you just click on Add a Market Watch. And again, I can do this by market radius or area. And you saw that same setup. But this one has an additional option that we just added in recently that lets you do it by boundary. So boundary is an interesting thing. So first we select a boundary type. And you can see the different kinds of boundaries we have here. Now this is stuff we're actually pulling from public records. So this is like census data we're getting this from. So if I want to do school districts, so I'll click on school districts, and it shows me school districts within the map I'm looking at. So that's why it only shows the one here. So if I select it, it loads up that school district boundary area. So now this is going to look at all listings within that market area that's set up by this boundary. I can choose a date that I want it to start sending out on if I don't want it to start right away. I can choose a date I want it to end on if I want it to only run for, say, a few months and then stop, though most of the time you can keep these running indefinitely. I give it a name, just like I would any other Market Watch, regardless of how I set it up, or the Save Searches. And then if I want, I can narrow down the properties that it uses, or the properties it pulls data from. So by default, it's looking at everything in that market, but if you're looking at a market that has some $100,000 homes over here and some $400,000 to $500,000 homes over here, and you only want your report to look at the higher end ones, or the lower end ones, I guess, you can go through here and you can define the criteria that narrows that down. That'll also narrow down the sample listings it shows on the reports. And then lastly, something we recently added to these is you can use this slider to limit how far back it'll go, especially for sold listings. So if you don't want it to show sold listings, we have data for sold listings for the last 3 years. But the idea is that a listing that sold 3 years ago is not particularly indicative of the market now. So if I want to see only sold listings in the last 30 days, it'll make sure that none older than 30 days or sold more than 30 days ago show up on the report.
So when you pull up the market, and it says like, pick a town and it says 742 listings, that would be everything that it would show up in if you did it by time, is that?
Yeah, if you didn't limit it by not only time, but if you didn't limit it by the rest of the criteria there. And that's looking at all property categories. Typically you're just looking at residential on these, but that's land, commercial, that's everything.
Is that including rentals in the school districts?
That I don't know for sure. I don't think this one includes rentals. Because I think rental data is pretty limited overall. Okay, so once you have this all set up, you just hit done. That'll create the report. And then I actually saved a couple of these so we could take a look at them. You can see what the reports look like. We're in the process of redesigning these, but the current version of the reports, this is what an Apex Market Watch report would look like. So you can see it gives you some market statistics. Right now it shows no homes on this one because this sample report was just looking at anything new since the last time the report went out, and I had just fired the report off. But what it would do is it would load up some sample properties here. It would show all the just listed, contingent, pending listings, and then also have a sold section where it shows everything right down here. So you can see sample properties that match all of those. And then while we're in here, this is what the saved search emails look like. So you can see if I was getting this instantly, if there were 68 new listings that matched, this one was actually fired off right away. So with the initial result set, it wasn't looking at just new ones since the last time it ran. So that's why there are so many. But 68 listings, and then it shows you a sampling of 20 of them and lets the customer click through to go to your website and then search through the rest of the listings. And ideally, ultimately make a request on those listings. You know, ask for a showing, ask for more information, anything along those lines.
How long has this been available?
The which part? Market Watch? That's been in there since the beginning.
And how do you, well, because I was like, I used it, how do you stop after the person is found? So my people still.
You can stop them, so you can go in and remove them if you want, but the idea is
Just
keep them going.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about these is, the number one reason I'm told that a seller doesn't sell their home with the same agent they bought it through is because they just forgot who they were. So now what you could do is just turn the frequency down. Right. So if you look at these right now, we have it set on Apex Market Watch. I have it set to go out monthly. After the transaction, if I want, I could switch this out to quarterly or even semi-annually. That way, I'm not hitting them as often, but I'm staying in their mind. That way, if they're in the market again or if they know somebody in the market, you're the one they go to.
It's also a field thing. If it shows that your house is something else, in the market.
All right. So that is our look at the customer profile pages. Everything that we've got on there, Safe Searches and Market Watches have been the big things that we have made a lot of pushes for over the year, and put a lot of information into, and added a lot of new stuff too. So we're going to make sure to cover all those. From there, I'm going to kind of switch gears and take a look at the Facebook Auto Connector. Actually, before I do Facebook Auto Connector, I don't want to throw everybody off, but there's one thing I forgot to mention. So another thing you can do with these safe searches, and something that is extremely powerful in the system, is you can create a safe search, and you can look at, let me go back to a market here, so I'll do one for Cary again, because it's been working well for me so far. Under property type, you see we have an option for coming soon. So that is something that we just integrated into the system recently. We're actually getting coming soon or data for coming soon listings from everyone within the MLS. So not just HPW coming soon listings, but we're getting them all. The customer has to agree to like a terms and conditions kind of a thing in order to see all the ones from non-HPW agents. But what the system will do is if you set this up for coming soon listings, they'll get notifications whenever a new coming soon listing comes on the market from an HPW agent just inherently. But when they get it, they'll also get a notification right here at the top of the email that says you're not seeing all the upcoming listings that you could be. And they can click here to go through to the website and then accept the terms. Once they've accepted the terms, basically their account is approved to see all of the coming soon listings from the MLS, regardless of whose they are.
So if you set it up, just setting it up on your end, that's just the first step. The second step is they're going to have to at some point.
Right, and it's more of a, it's a MLS compliance and a legality thing. The idea is that you can't accept the terms on their behalf. So the closest we can get is we can send them company coming soons and then just put this notification at the top so that they can see they're not getting them all. And then when they click here, it takes them through to the website where ultimately they can fill out this form and hit see all coming soon listings, and that'll authorize their account to see all of them. Now they can go directly to this page. This page is available from the company site also.
Will it remind them that they haven't done it,
Like every time the listing.
Every time it sends them a notification, it should have that at the top of it until they do it.
I've seen it at the bottom of the letter. They have here's what's new, and then the paragraph put here.
This, that particular paragraph? Well, send me an email. And we'll take a look at it. As far as I knew, it only shows up here at the top, but I know on the Market Watches, you can actually restructure those. Like you could change where the sections appear on Market Watches. Well, send it to me. Send it into support@deltagroup.com. In fact, that goes for anybody who runs into something that doesn't look like it's doing what it's supposed to. Just email support@deltagroup.com, and we'll look into it. And we've got I've got 5 guys back there that will research it for me, so that I don't have to look at it. All right, so that's the thing I wanted to mention about safe searches, the ability to get those coming soon listings in. All right, so the next thing we'll take a look at is Facebook Auto Connector. Now, the nice thing about Facebook Auto Connector is it is an easy setup kind of a thing. So to get there, we'll scroll down here to Facebook and then click on Post Tools. And this loads up our Facebook Auto Connector settings. So this account is already signed in. Now what you would see if the account wasn't already signed into a Facebook account is just a sign in button. So that I can show you what that looks like. Who's that handsome devil? But this one's kind of a bad example too. So in this case, I'm signed into an account, but the account doesn't have a business page. So you have to have a Facebook business page in order for this tool to be able to post to it. And that's actually Facebook's regulations fairly recently. They won't let us automatically post to a personal page. So you have to have a business page. And when you go to this page for the first time, you'll click Sign In with Facebook, and then it will prompt you to log into your Facebook account. If you're already logged into a Facebook account and you've already granted it permissions, in this case I have, then it'll just load straight through. In most cases it'll say, do you want to log in with this Facebook account? You say yes. Do you want to grant these permissions to post to these pages on your Facebook account? You click Allow, and then that'll load up these settings. Because basically at that point you've authorized us to post on your behalf. What it's doing is it's posting a variety of things based on whichever settings you want to go for. So at first, you have new listings. So this allows you to post any of your new listings that come on the market. So it'll only post yours. But as soon as they come on the market, the system actually runs every hour, so close to as soon as it comes on the market. Based on whatever criteria you've chosen here, it'll automatically post that to your Facebook page. So this is nice in that you don't have to always remember to post everything. If you've got particular any new listings that come on, any open houses, any new videos on listings, you're maintaining your Facebook page by making regular social-based posts on it. This is to make sure you also get your listings on there without you having to interact with it at all. So to turn it on, you just switch it on for whichever type of thing you want to post. So if I want to do new listings, I'll switch that to on. If I want to do new open houses, I would switch that to on, and just down the line. So you can see it can also do coming soon listings. So as soon as you add a coming soon listing to the MLS, as soon as we get it, it'll post those. Whenever you put a video on a listing, so if you, say you had somebody shoot a drone video, something like that, you put it on YouTube and then you added that to your listing, you could have it automatically post when that happens. Any price changes, or price reductions specifically, but price changes will post. New sold listings that come on the market, so whenever you've sold a listing, that can auto-post to your Facebook page. If you add a new blog article, or if the company adds a new blog article and you have the blog system turned on, it'll post those. The MCFL articles, so those My Customer for Life emails, it can auto-post those to Facebook, which is kind of cool. We actually, we write 3 new articles every week. So the idea is this is 3 posts for you every week on your Facebook page. The idea is content that's actually engaging, content that people actually want to read.
But you have to do something in blogs to get it to show up.
For the My Customer for Life, you don't. For the blogs, if you wanted to post blog articles, you just have to have the blog system turned on. And
Is this only for, like, if I do an open house for someone else, that's not going to show up?
that should still show up.
Oh,
Yeah, in the open house data we're getting the hosting agent generally in the data. So as long as we're getting that, then it should post ones that you're hosting and it should post yours. In fact, until recently it only posted the ones that you were posting, or the ones that you were hosting, which was confusing to me because I didn't realize that, and now I do. So now it should do both. In fact, there is an option for it here. There we are. So under the open house posting, there's a separate option for post open houses for my listings, even if I'm not the hosting agent. So in this case, if you're the hosting agent, it's always going to post. If you check this box, it'll post yours, even if you're not hosting it.
Where's it from? MLS?
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a hosting agent, you can't go on the listing. You're not allowed to get into the listing as a hosting agent, only as the listing agent.
Yeah, you can't do anything to the listing. You can't modify it, can't change it. It's just marketing that you're hosting an open house.
Wait, if I have a listing and I've got someone else doing the open house, I'm the one that goes into my listing to produce an open house. I don't say who's hosting it.
If you post it through HPW Open House, you can select the agent who is hosting it for you other than yourself.
If you don't select who's hosting it, like if it's not part of the data, then we're not going to post anything. We're not going to know. So only if we have the data for it, I mean, that goes for all the stuff too. I mean, only if we have the data for it is going to work. It should just pick it up from MLS data right now, as far as I know.
Because the only person that can put that information is the listing agent.
Right. Yeah, so if the listing agent doesn't fill in who's hosting it, then it's not gonna do it.
I've had it turned on for quite some time. When it goes on the Facebook, it posts all the open houses for HPW for the weekend. That's what it shows on my Facebook feed. It doesn't just show one open house, it shows a list of open houses for the weekend.
Oh.
When it posts on my Facebook. It will show that too, but it will show open houses for the weekend. And also, I would like to ask, on all of these where it says the frequency, you have unlimited on there. I'm a tech specialist. I teach my class to move the unlimited to 1 to 2 times a day, so it's not inundated with post after post after post. So I don't know if you want to show them how they can switch the unlimited to how many posts a day.
Yep.
If they want to do that.
Well, first, thank you. That's actually news to me. Okay, because I had this conversation with the programmer the other day, and he was like, yeah, no, it posts if you're hosting it, but it's not posting ones that you're listing for. So I'll look into it and see what else I could find out about it detail-wise. As far as the unlimited, I'll just cycle through. I think the only thing we had left on here was price reduction, solds, blogs, MCFL. It can post your customer reviews as you add those, and you can also create market watches and have it auto-post those. Now for the frequency limits, what this is doing is limiting that type of post for that particular day. So if I go to new listings, for example, and actually new listings is kind of a bad example because you're not generally getting 20 new listings in a day. But the idea would be if you get 20 things of this type, so if you get 20 new listings in a day, and you don't want it to post any more than one to your Facebook page at a time, if you set this to 1, it's only going to post 1, and then it's going to queue the rest. So it shouldn't post another one until the next day. And you can do that for all of the different options here. So for new listings, it's not something you'll run into a lot, but for open houses, if it's posting the entire company's open houses and you don't want it to make 5 posts to your Facebook page all at once, you just change that limit to once, and it'll post 1 and then queue the rest, and the next day post another. But with open houses, it shouldn't keep them beyond when the open house is. So say there's 10, it's not going to queue them 10 days in a row because, you know, if at day 3 the open houses have happened. So at that point, there's no reason to post them. One thing that this is particularly useful for is the MCFL articles, for example. We do 3 new ones every Thursday. So in this case, if I set this to 1 per day, it's going to post 1 on Thursday, and then 1 on Friday, and 1 on Saturday. What I could do if I wanted to limit that further is I could define specific days. So if I say I only want it to post Friday, Sunday, and Monday, and I set it to 1 per day, we're going to add 3 new ones on Thursday, which is why the week starts on Thursday in this list. It'll post 1 on Friday, and it'll queue the other 2, and then it'll post 1 on Sunday and 1 on Monday. And then it'll build in new ones on Thursday and requeue them and redo them again. All right, sound good? Facebook Auto Connector, feeling pretty good? I'm feeling pretty good. Mhm. The sold listing should only pick up, well, it should pick up if you represented the buyer or the seller, as long as we have the data for it. All right, so we kind of took a look at boundary searches for the market watches, but I wanted to take a look at those on the public side website also. That way you can see how, you know, a customer would interact with the boundaries, because that is something we added in relatively recently. So that is a pretty cool one as far as, you know, search functionality goes. So this would just be an agent site. I can go to the map search. There we are. Now it loads up a regular map search page, and I can back this off a little bit. And I'll accept my cookies so that goes away. Now from here, this boundary search that we saw for the market watches is actually available on this public search. So if I click this icon here, it loads up the boundary search interface, and I can select a boundary type. So school districts is always a good example. So we'll go with school districts, and now it lets me select from the school districts that it has data for in my map area. And just like in the Market Watch, it'll load that up, and then it will also limit all of my results to just what's within that boundary. And you can see the different boundary areas we have here. When we actually have cities, we have zip codes if you want to go by those. There, you can even fine tune it as much as specific schools or specific school boundaries. And that's where something like this could be really powerful. So if you have somebody that wants to look at, show me only the listings that go to this school, this is the school I want. They can actually go to the website and they can find, I was going to say it out loud, but I can't remember how to pronounce it. I've heard it like 3 or 4 times. Fuquay-Varina. All right. Telling you, gets me every time. To get to the interface, it's just this button and this side panel. So you have this double box button here, and that loads up all the boundary search stuff. And you can see what else I've done here is I've loaded up a boundary within a boundary. So if you actually want to be able to fine tune that and see that, and you can see we've loaded up the search grouping here. So if I zoom in a bit, it stops that clustering and I can see the individual listings also. Now keep in mind that we're looking at this in 2 different ways. We're getting data from the MLS telling us what school or what school district a listing is supposed to be in, but we're also loading up these boundaries. So the idea is that this can counteract if an agent were to go to the MLS and enter a school district or a school attendance zone incorrectly for a listing, just say this should go to this high school. If that's incorrect, you'll be able to see it here with these boundary maps. And vice versa. If there's something incorrect with the boundary maps, if it's entered correctly at the MLS, it'll still show up on the search. That way, you get a full view of that. So the data's never going to be perfect, but it's been pretty good.
Just quick, so for the specific school, maybe it's Heritage or whatever school it is how you're able to, that listing shows up in that Heritage school system is because of the agent, how the agent listing is, right? Because if
Both.
the agent just says Wake County Schools just to cover themselves, in some cases, will that listing now just not show up, period, in that, or, right?
In the boundary search, it still will, and that's the beauty of what it does. We're actually looking at geolocation data for it instead of looking at the way the agent entered it.
Because it's garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we've heard. I'm not going to say that. That's not. What was happening back here? All right. Anyway.
Is that the new feature that they were talking about earlier in the connection? Being able to search by school districts? This is where,
Yeah, by school districts and specific schools.
this is where you do it.
Yep. So this way, the customer can do it from the front end. You can do it from the front end, and soon we'll have it added to the back-end Safe Search system. So right now, the back-end Safe Search, as you saw, you can do market, radius or area where you actually draw the box. This will be added there also. So you'll be able to do boundary and load up the boundaries there. Yeah, it'll just be another option. Yep, just like with the market watches, you'll be able to click boundary and go through the selections there. So that'll be pretty cool when that's in there. All right, so how soon? That's a fantastic question that I will not commit to an answer on. Mhm.
Like now, if we go into either one of the market or whatever, we put in like Leesville schools, it'll come up with Leesville schools on there that you can click. Is that not doing this, or?
If you mean if you type it into the quick search, like you type in the school district name? What we're doing is we're working on fine-tuning the integration between the quick search and the boundary system. I mean, we're doing okay with it so far. What it's doing is it's trying to find a boundary name, because we're matching boundary names we're getting from public record data to boundary names or school district names as they were entered at the MLS. And those don't always mesh perfectly.
So if we do it that way, we're still getting MLS.
You're getting MLS data unless it will connect them. So in some cases, the system's already in place and it'll connect it. So you said Leesville schools? So if I look at high school, actually school district usually works the best, but let's try it. Why not? I'm not scared.
Well, listen, your schools are always just school districts.
Yeah, so in this case, it's looking at just MLS data. But you'll actually see it load the boundary if it found a matching boundary. So it's not perfect yet, but we're kind of getting there with it. Right now, the best way to do it is you can actually still do both. So I searched for it, and now I have all the MLS data. Let's say I also want to get the boundary data. So this is the boundary we have from public record, and then the listing that loaded up initially was just the one that came from the MLS data. It's taking the whole thing under advisement. There we go. So now it loads it up. And then we also noticed when we started kind of fine-tuning this boundary data that we would run into some stuff where the boundary lines had actually been redrawn. So that's why we include kind of a little bit of fuzzy logic around the listings that show up on geolocation, because, I mean, every year, every couple of years, the boundary lines are getting redrawn by a street or two. And we want to make sure we're better to have too much than not enough in that case a lot of time. So, all right, so that is school boundary data. Let's see, what else do I have on my list? I'll run into the subscription services real quick. The idea is, it's a lot of stuff we already went over, but it's kind of the public side of it, or the customer-facing side of it, where they can sign up for different things. So if I go to the main website and I go down to Be a Market Expert, this is going to take me through to all the different kinds of subscription services that are available to customers that come to the website. So from here we have new listing alerts, which we went over. That's just the saved searches. Market Watch reports we also went over. Coming soon we went over, because that is a saved search for coming soons. Open house alerts, also part of a saved search. When you set up a saved search, they'll also get a notification when open houses come up that match, even when no new properties match. So if, say the end of the week, like I think it does it on Thursday actually. So if Thursday there are no new listings that match the criteria for that customer, they'll still get an email that says, here's some open houses for listings that match your criteria. HPW Home Tips is signing up for My Customer for Life, so customers can do that from the front end. And then 10 Below is the new one we added here. What 10 Below is looking at, so we'll just click here, that takes me to the sign up page, and then we have 10 Below selected. So I would go here, fill in my information and my location, and that would set me up with a saved search for those 10 Below listings. What 10 Below listings are, and I don't know how much you've heard about this already, but we're pulling down automated valuation data for all the listings we get, and then also kind of a confidence score for those. So what we're doing is we're looking at listings that are on the market for 10% or more lower than what their automated valuation is. So the idea is, these are listings that are hot because they're a particularly good deal. So that way customers could sign up for saved searches that are just looking at those listings in particular. So that one is pretty cool. So then the last thing I have on my list, let's see, we have just enough time for it. Look at that. It's in 10 Below also. Or it's in, yep. In fact, let me jump over there. Add a saved search. There it is. 10 Below. Yep, so you can set those up there also. I wanted to save it for the big reveal, Man, I know. All right, so the last thing, I always save this for last because it's like everybody loves it. If you're losing everybody in the room, this last one, this is the one. So, so if we go to customers, we will have an option here for e-cards and flyers. Now, everybody loves e-cards and flyers. These things are great. So they're basically built for you, so you don't have to put a lot into creating these. These templates are already set up, they're already done. You can just go in here, you add your information to them. If they're a listing-specific one, they will add the property information in there automatically. You can customize them a bit if you want to, just customize the verbiage and things, but the idea is that there's not a lot of customization required here. You jump in, you create your e-card or your flyer, you hit the go button, and it sends out, or it gives you a printable copy. So we are adding one or two new ones every week here. Actually, I think I have a schedule. So we're adding 2 new ones a week. If you have any suggestions for these also, I know that the designer that makes these loves to get suggestions because she's doing 2 a week, she's running out of ideas. But we just continually add these to the system. So whoever you choose. So to set them up, we can pick from any of the categories we have here, and these are all e-cards or flyers specific to the category. So I'll just go ahead and pick one right here on the front page. So thinking about selling, I click on the template. I can give this one in particular a headline and a message because that's the only thing editable on here. This one doesn't actually have a property on it. You know, it's for selling, so. Now, we can change the color if we want to customize that at all. We can adjust the way the agent photo loads up. So if we wanted to load up a portrait photo, if we had one in the system instead of just the standard photo size for the agent, we can do that. And if I click on preview, here is our e-card. Actually, this one's a flyer. So here is our flyer. Now I just click on generate flyer. It takes me to this page where I can share the flyer on social media, or I can click on download and it will download a PDF of that. And at that point, I can either print it out of my own printer, or I can save it on like a flash drive and I can take it to a print shop and have them actually print out, you know, edge-to-edge flyers for me if I want.
I had a question.
Mhm.
I've tried to do this before, and when I go and post it to Facebook, it always leads me to my personal Facebook page, not my business page. How do we get it to go specifically to our business page?
You should be able to pick which you post it to. It'll probably default to personal, whatever account you're logged into. But that's all controlled by Facebook. So when you hit that share on Facebook button, in fact, I don't know what Facebook account I'm logged into here, so let's see what happens. So here we are. So this is going to be my Facebook account, and this is just a personal test account I set up. So right now it would post to my personal account, but if I want to post it to a different page, I can share to group, or I can share on pages I manage, or I could even share in a private message if I wanted. So for the business page I manage, and there's my test business page. And then this is my flyer.
What if we wanted to email that or e-card, how do we pick?
So if you want to do an e-card instead, now you could still send that one through email and we just send a picture of it, but the e-cards are actually built for email and they connect directly to your groups and everything. So if I want e-cards, in this case, I'll just filter by type and show me only e-cards, just to make it easier for us. And this time I will pick one where we can, you can see we have a lot of holiday ones in here, but I'll pick one where we can actually pick a property. So I click on the template. I can either select from one of my properties, those will load up here by default, or if I want to send out an e-card for a property that's not mine, I can type in the MLS number here. Let's cross our fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4 always works. So I just put in either the MLS number or the address. It'll track down the matches. I select it. It'll autofill with the MLS comments, but I can customize them if I want. Again, I can customize the agent photo on this one. The agent photo stuff is going to depend on the e-card you pick. So not every one of these customization options is available on every e-card. And click on preview, and there you have it. If I want to change any of the pictures, I can just click on it and select from other pictures we have for that listing. It's nice. You never know when you click on, when you put in 1, 2, 3, 4, you could get anything. And then I hit send e-card. From here I can select from my groups, or I can type out the email addresses of individual recipients. And it'll load them up in the autocompleter, and I can select out individual people for it to go to also. After that, I just hit send. It'll email out, and then in that case, it'll actually tell me if there's anybody it's going to that is either opted out of email or that it didn't send for some reason. It'll actually give me a little report on that page to tell me which ones didn't go out. All right? So there is e-cards. Now, they're going to kick me out of here any minute now. So the last thing on e-cards is you can actually see history on these. So if I click up here, there's an e-card history button, which isn't always obvious, so I always like to point that out. That shows you all the ones that have been sent. You can reshare them from here if you wanted to share them on social media again. You can see if they were clicked through, if they were viewed, if they were opened. So this is a nice way to get metrics on all of that and recreate them if you want. So all of these flyers, I could actually click the print button and load them up again.
I got a quick question.
Mhm.
It's a wonderful e-card for happy anniversary. Is there any way to be able to load that automatically on the date yourself that your buyer or seller sold the house?
Yes.
And it sends that day?
Yep. So for that, we have a little, we couldn't think of a better icon than the magic wand here for the wizard. So if you click on that, that is the e-card automation wizard. And from here, you can select from the different things you can automate. So in the case of anniversary,
And there's a,
1-year homeowner anniversary, I'll link this to any of my customer groups. And then whenever they hit that anniversary date based on what I entered for the customers, it'll automatically fire off the e-card I pick. All righty?